Welcome to the Daily Current Affairs by CivicCentre IAS, where we try to discuss the important articles from the Hindu, the Indian Express and the PIB from the UPSC CSC prelims perspective. Displayed are the list of articles which we are going to discuss in today's video. The first article of the day says that the Pakistan has invited Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's Council of Heads of the Government meeting to be held here in October. Furthermore, Pakistan holds the rotating chairmanship of the SEO Council of Heads of Government and in that capacity will be hosting the two-day in-person SEO Heads of the Government's meeting in the month of October. In this context, let us talk about SEO. See, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, in short called the SEO, is a permanent intergovernmental international organization established on June 15th of 2001 in the Shanghai, but it entered into force on September 19th of 2003. Know that it's a Eurasian political, economic and military organization aiming to maintain peace, security and stability in the region. Significantly, its predecessor was the mechanism of the Shanghai Five formed in the year 1996, consisting of the countries China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. Note that before the inclusion of Belarus, it had 9 members, which are India, Iran, Kazakhstan, China, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. Now, if we look at its objectives, firstly, it is to strengthen the relations among the member states. Secondly, to promote cooperation in political affairs, economics and trade, scientific, technical, cultural and educational spheres, as well as in energy, transportation, tourism and environmental protection. Thirdly, to safeguard regional peace, security and stability. And lastly, to create a democratic, equitable, international political and economic order. Notably, the SEO aims to promote cooperation and mutual support in areas such as trade, investment, energy, transportation and security. Know that the official working language of the SEO Secretariat is Russian and Chinese. Now, if we have to look at its structure, firstly, there is the Heads of State Council. See, it is the supreme SEO body which decides its internal functioning and its interaction with other states and international organizations, and then it considers the international issues. Then we have the Heads of the Government Council, which approves the budget, considers and decides upon the issues related to economic spheres of interaction within the SEO. Thirdly, there is Council of Ministers of Foreign Affairs, which considers issues related to day-to-day activities. Furthermore, the organization has 2 permanent bodies, which are the Secretariat in Beijing of China and the Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure in Tashkent. Note that the SEO Secretary General and the RATS Executive Committee Director are appointed by the HSC for a period of 3 years. Significantly, Kazakhstan was the SEO chairman in 2023-24 and the next SEO summit will be held in China in the year 2025. The second article of the day says that the artificial rain, a work from home policy, a ban on vehicles in air pollution hotspots and awareness campaigns to bring out change in the citizens' behavior are likely to feature in the Delhi's government's winter action plan, according to the Environment Minister Gopal Rai. In this context, let us talk about various aspects related to it. See, artificial rain, which is also known as cloud seeding, is a weather modification technique designed to induce or increase the precipitation. Now, if we have to look about the cloud seeding, see, water vapor condenses around small particles to form the droplets that make up a cloud. So, these droplets collide and grow. As they get heavy and the cloud gets saturated, it rains. Significantly, with the cloud seeding, clouds are usually injected with salts like silver iodide, potassium iodide or sodium chloride, which is the seed. Further, these salts are expected to provide additional nuclei around which more cloud droplets can form. Hence, they are dispersed into the cloud either using the aircraft or through generators on the ground. Now, what are the conditions required for the cloud seeding to be done? Firstly, cloud cover and clouds of a certain type are necessary. This is because the cloud seeding can only happen if there is a sufficient number of clouds and a particular depth to these clouds. Furthermore, on the inside, there needs to be an adequate number of cloud droplets. Notably, cloud shading is done to increase the radius of the cloud droplets so that they'll grow bigger, and because of the gravity, they'll come down as rainfall. But with a clear sky, you can't do it. You might be wondering, has cloud seeding been done before in India? The answer is yes. Seeding has mostly been attempted during the monsoon in India in places such as Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu. Significantly, in a more recent experiment, the fourth phase of cloud aerosol interaction and precipitation enhancement experiment that took place in the monsoon seasons of 2018 and 19 was conducted in drought-prone Solapur in Maharashtra. It pointed to a relative enhancement of 18% in rainfall. The next article says that in an attempt to embarrass the centre into restarting the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, in short called the MGNREGS in West Bengal, the workers enrolled with the program across the country will donate 1 rupee each to cover the wage dues that have not been paid to those in the state since the scheme was shut down there over corruption complaints in December 2021. In this context, let us talk about MGNREGA. See, the MGNREGA is one of the largest work guarantee programs in the world, launched in the year 2005 by the Ministry of Rural Development. Significantly, the primary objective of the scheme is to guarantee 100 days of employment in every financial year to adult members of any rural household willing to do public work related unskilled manual work. Further, the Panchayat Raj institutions will implement the program. Know that the person days under the MGNREGA are defined as the total number of working days by a person registered under the scheme in a financial year. Now, there are two primary objectives of the MGNREGA. One is to enhance the livelihood security of the rural poor by creating wage employment opportunities, and the other is to develop a rural asset base to boost productive employment, augment household income, and sustain economic well-being. Now, let us look at the features of the MGNREGA. Firstly, the Act grants a legal right to employment for adult members of rural households, with at least 1/3 of the beneficiaries being women. Then, if the work is not assigned within 15 days, the applicant is entitled to receive an unemployment allowance. Know that this unemployment allowance is 1/4 of the minimum wage for the first 30 days and a half for the following period. Notably, Gram Sabhas recommends and oversees at least 50% of the projects. Further, the cost sharing between the central government and the states for wages, materials, and administrative expenses is done. The next article says that India's second nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine, INS Arighaat, was commissioned into the service at Visakhapatnam in the presence of the Defence Minister Shri Rajnath Singh. Notably, it joins the first such submarine, INS Arihant, which was commissioned in the year 2016. Furthermore, the addition of INS Arighaat, the second such submarine, marks an important milestone in India's nuclear submarine program. In this context, let us talk about INS Arighaat. See, the INS Arighaat will join its predecessor INS Arihant, which became fully operational in the year 2018 to enhance the country's nuclear triad, which is the capability to launch the nuclear weapons from land, air, and sea. Know that INS Arihant and INS Arighaat are powered by 83 megawatt pressurized light water reactors, allowing them to remain submerged for extended periods, unlike conventional diesel electric submarines that need to surface regularly. Significantly, the Indian nuclear-powered ballistic submarines are named the Arihant class, which is a Sanskrit term meaning for the destroyer of the enemy. Furthermore, the Indian government plans to build both nuclear and conventional submarines as part of its long-term acquisition and capability development strategy. This includes 5 Arihant class submarines and 6 nuclear attack submarines to be constructed in 3 phases. Notably, with India's no first use nuclear policy, the submersible launched ballistic nuclear submarines, in short called the SSBNs, play a key role in deterrence due to their difficulty in detection and their ability to survive a surprise attack and execute retaliatory strikes. Also, the countries like the US, Russia, and China have larger SSBNs with longer range missiles. For instance, China has 6 Jin class SSBNs with GL-3 missiles capable of 10,000 kilometers, and The US operates 14 Ohio class submarines. The next article says that Indian Meteorological Department has warned that a depression with a wind speed between 31 to 49 km per hour forming over Saurashtra is likely to become a cyclone. Further, this will be the first time since the year 1964 that a land-based depression in August is morphing into a cyclone over the Arabian Sea. In this context, let us see what a cyclone is, and then we shall talk about IMD, which is nothing but Indian Meteorological Department. So what is a cyclone? See, a cyclone is a large-scale system of air that rotates around the center of a low-pressure area. Usually, it is accompanied by violent storms and bad weather. Significantly, it is characterized by inward spiraling winds that rotate anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. Further, there are two types of cyclones. Firstly, tropical cyclones, which develop in the region between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Then, what are the conditions favorable for the formation and intensification of tropical storms? The first condition is a large sea surface with a temperature higher than 27 degrees centigrade. Secondly, the presence of the Coriolis force. Thirdly, small variations in the vertical wind speed. Then, a pre-existing weak low pressure area or low level cyclonic circulation. And lastly, upper divergence over above the sea level system. Then moving on to talk about extratropical cyclones. They are also called temperate cyclones or middle latitude cyclones or frontal cyclones, also wave cyclones. They occur in the temperate zones and high latitude regions, though they are known to originate in the polar regions. Interestingly, the origin and development of temperate cyclones is best explained by the polar front theory. Now moving on to talk about the Indian Meteorological Department. See, it is the National Meteorological Service of the country and the principal government agency in all matters relating to meteorology and allied subjects. Know that it is an agency of the Ministry of Earth Sciences under the Government of India. Furthermore, it was established in the year 1875 and will complete 150 years of presence on 15th January 2025. The next article says that the Department of Telecommunications published 4 sets of draft rules under the Indian Telecommunications Act of 2023. In this context, let us talk about the Indian Telecommunications Act of 2023. See, the Telecommunications Bill of 2023 amends and consolidates the laws relating to development, expansion, and operation of telecommunication services and telecommunication networks, assignment of spectrum, and for matters connected therewith. Know that the new Act replaces older laws like the Indian Telegraph Act of 1885 and the Indian Wireless Telegraph Act of 1993 due to significant technological advancements in the telecom sector. Further, the Act promotes a digital implementation, including online dispute resolution and other frameworks. Significantly, it is guided by the principles like inclusion, security, growth, and responsiveness. Now, if you look at the salient features of the bill or the Act, see, according to the brief provided by the Ministry of Telecommunications, the positive aspects of the new article includes the following aspects. Firstly, prior authorization from the central government will be required to provide telecommunication services, to establish, operate, maintain or expand telecommunications networks, or to possess radio equipment. Further, existing licenses will continue to be valid for a period of their grant or for 5 years where the period is not specified. Secondly, the Act provides an effective ROW framework both on public and private property. Know that the definition of the public entities has been broadened to include government agencies, local bodies, and public-private partnership projects like the airports, seaports, and highways. Further, the public entities shall be obligated to provide a right of way except in special circumstances. Thirdly, it is in line with the PM Gati Shakti's vision, and the law provides for the central government to establish common ducts and cable corridors. Next, Section 20, Clause 2 of the Act allows the government to stop the transmission of any message in the interest of the public safety and during a public emergency. This majorly expands the number of government entities that may be able to intercept the messages. Then with the new Act, the Universal Service Obligation Fund, in short called the USOF, will become Digital Bharat Nidhi, which can be used to fund research and development and pilot projects instead of just supporting the establishment of telecom services in rural areas. Further, the Act also provides a legal framework for regulatory sandbox to facilitate innovation and deployment of new technology. Lastly, the commercial messages sent without the user's consent may lead to relevant operator facing a fine and being banned from the providing services. Additionally, establishing do not disturb registers has been made mandatory for operators. The next article says that after having committed nearly of the $10 billion in subsidies under its ambitious semiconductor manufacturing incentive policy, the government has prepared a blueprint for the second phase of the scheme. Through this, it could increase the outlay of the program to $15 billion, offer capital support for raw materials and gases used in chip manufacturing, and at the same time reduce the subsidies for assembly and testing plants. In this context, let us talk about semiconductors and then we'll look at the initiatives with respect to them. See, semiconductors are tied to the future, so are emerging technologies and artificial intelligence. So, semiconductors are the materials with electrical conductivity between the conductors, which are the metals, and insulators, which are the non-metals. Further, they have a band gap that lies between the valence and the conduction bands, allowing them to conduct electricity under certain conditions. Some of the examples of semiconductors are silicon, germanium, gallium arsenide, silicon carbide, etc. Now, moving on to talk about India's semiconductor mission. Know that it is a specialized and independent business division within the Digital India Corporation. Significantly, it aims to build a vibrant semiconductor and display ecosystem to enable India's emergence as a global hub for electronics manufacturing and design. Further envisioned to be led by the global experts in the semiconductor and display industry, the India Semiconductor Mission will serve as the nodal agency for efficient, coherent, and smooth implementation of the schemes. Now, what are the objectives of this mission? Firstly, to formulate a comprehensive long-term strategy for developing sustainable semiconductor and display manufacturing facilities. Secondly, to facilitate the adoption of secure microelectronics and develop a trusted semiconductor supply chain. Thirdly, to enable growth of India's semiconductor design industry through support mechanisms for startups. Then to promote indigenous intellectual property generation and facilitate transfer of technologies. Next, to establish mechanisms to harness economies of scale and enable cutting-edge research in semiconductors. Lastly, to foster collaborations and partnership programs with national and international agencies, industries, and institutions. Then moving on to talk about the Semicon India program. See, it aims to provide attractive incentive support to companies or consortia that are engaged in silicon semiconductor fabs, display fabs, compound semiconductors or silicon photonics or sensors, including the MSME fabs, semiconductor packaging, and semiconductor design. Significantly, the program will give an impetus to semiconductor and display manufacturing by facilitating capital support and technological collaborations. The next article says that allowing the Food Corporation of India to sell rice to distilleries for ethanol production, the centre said the maximum of 23 lakh metric tons of rice may be allowed for lifting to ethanol distilleries. Further, in an order, the Department of Food and Public Distribution said that distilleries may be allowed to participate in an e-auction and lift the rice during August to October 2024 as per the final auction rate of rice every week. In this context, let us talk about ethanol. See, ethanol, which is also known as ethyl alcohol, is a biofuel produced from various sources such as sugarcane, corn, rice, wheat, and biomass. Know that the production process involves the fermentation of sugars by yeast or via petrochemical processes such as ethylene hydration. Notably, ethanol is 99.9% pure alcohol that can be blended with petrol to create cleaner fuel alternative. If we look at the applications, see, ethanol is used as a renewable and sustainable biofuel alternative to gasoline in the transportation sector. Furthermore, it can be blended with petrol in various proportions such as E10, which has 10% ethanol and 90% petrol, and E20, which has 20% ethanol and 80% petrol. Significantly, the Indian government has implemented the ethanol blending program to promote the use of ethanol as a renewable fuel. So the program aims to blend ethanol with the petrol to reduce the country's dependence on imported crude oil, cut carbon emissions, and boost farmers' income. Notably, ethanol blends help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and air pollutants, contributing to cleaner air and mitigating climate change. Also, the government took several initiatives to promote ethanol blending in India. The initiatives are firstly, National Policy on Biofuels of 2018, then the E100 pilot project, then the Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Yojana of 2019, and lastly, repurpose used cooking oil. Significantly, the nodal department for the promotion of fuel-grade ethanol producing distilleries is the Department of Food and Public Distribution. The last article of the day says that the Ministry of Women and Child Development, under the leadership of Union Minister Srimati Annapurna Devi, has launched a new She-Box portal, which is a centralized platform for registering and monitoring the complaints of sexual harassment of women at the workplace. In this context, let us talk about it. See, the new She-Box portal serves as a centralized repository of information related to internal committees and local committees formed across the country, encompassing both the government and private sectors. So, it offers a common platform to file complaints, track their status, and ensure a time-bound processing of complaint by the ICs. Further, it provides assured redressal of complaints and streamlined process for all the stakeholders. Notably, the portal, through a designated nodal officer, will enable real-time monitoring of complaints. Additionally, a cornerstone of this initiative to enhance the women's participation in the workplace is ensuring that the workplaces are safe and secure, enabling women to thrive and succeed. Significantly, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act of 2013 serves to protect women from sexual harassment in the workplace and address their grievances. Further, in line with this commitment, the new She-Box portal represents a significant step forward in addressing and managing complaints of workplace and sexual harassment. Lastly, some of the initiatives of the Ministry of Women and Child Development are Poshan Abhiyan, then the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, then the Swadhar Grih and Mission Shakti, etc. In this video, we have discussed 9 articles in total today from the Hindu, the Indian Express and the PIB. We will be back again with another video tomorrow. Thank you.